Ever been told to use long descriptive variable names in your code? Like total shopping cart cost instead of just T? Well, what if I told you that sometimes shorter names can actually make your code better? What do I mean by better? I mean more readable, clearer and easier to follow. We want our code to be easy to read, whether by someone else or our future selves. That is why we should carefully choose variable names. Long, descriptive, meaningful names are usually recommended. Here's why. Take a look at these two functions. Same logic, different variable names. Which one is easier to read? The first one, on the left, uses short names like X, Y, and S. It's cryptic, right? You have to guess what X and Y mean. The second one is self-explanatory. You don't have to guess what count, threshold, or numbers mean. It's instantly clear. Descriptive names act as self-documenting comments. So, should we always use long descriptive names? Well, not so fast. Let's look at another example. A function that swaps elements across the diagonal of a matrix. The first version at the top uses short names like I, J, and N. The second version uses longer, more descriptive names like row index, call index, and size. Sure, it is clearer, but it's also too verbose, making it harder to read. I mean, does row index really add that much clarity than I? But here is the catch. Not just any short variable name improves readability. Let's tweak our diagonal swap function and replace I, J, and N with I, N, and F. Suddenly, the code feels off. Why? Because I, J are idiomatic. They are widely used for indices, but N and F not so much. In the first for loop, it is more natural to see the N in the range function call and I as the loop index. So when using short names, stick to idiomatic conventions. It's like speaking the same language as other developers. Now, what about mathematical operations? If a variable represents a generic value in a mathematical operation, using long names may just add unnecessary clutter. Consider this Python lambda function, which multiplies two integers and is used with map. Naming them value 1 and value 2 instead of x and y, pointless. It just makes the code needlessly verbose. So far, we've seen that long variable names can sometimes reduce readability. But that doesn't mean you should just use short names everywhere. Short names can actually make your code extremely hard to read, especially when their scope increases. Take this example. What is n? Who knows? You will have to scroll up or down to figure it out, which slows you down. A simple change, trip counts instead of n, make the purpose immediately clear. If a variable meaning isn't obvious from its name or context, give it a more meaningful name. Otherwise, you are just creating confusion. What if I told you that everything we've discussed so far depends on one key principle? That principle is consistency, the real foundation of readability. We've seen that long names can sometimes add clutter, and short names can sometimes create confusion. But what truly makes code readable in the long run isn't just choosing between long or short names. It is maintaining consistency. Think of it at 3 levels. First, language level consistency. If your variables follow the patterns of the programming language itself, they will feel more natural. For example, in Python, I, J, and K are commonly used for loop indices, and E is often used for exceptions. Sticking to these conventions as much as possible makes your code easier to understand. Second, community-level consistency. Libraries and frameworks often have naming conventions that developers recognize. Take pandas, for example. Almost everyone uses PD for pandas and df for a data frame. Following these conventions ensure that anyone familiar with the library can quickly understand your code. And third, project-level consistency. Within a single codebase, similar things should be named in a similar way. For example, if a temporary variable is constantly represented by t throughout the code, it shouldn't suddenly be named temporary data frame in one place. Inconsistent naming forces developers to stop and question the context or specificity of a variable's usage, which disrupts readability. One important question remains: how do you handle a project full of hard-to-read code? The best approach is to gradually refactor, module by module, until the code is both consistent and readable. But what will you do in this situation? Will you stick to the existing naming patterns for consistency, improve readability only in new components, or push for a full refactor? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear how you will handle it. To summarize, consider short names when long ones add unnecessary clutter. Stick to idiomatic conventions like I, J, and E. Avoid short names if they lack context or force readers to scroll. Prioritize consistency at all levels: language, community, and project. Don't be afraid to refactor when needed. At the end of the day, the goal is to write code that's clean, readable, and maintainable. Thanks for watching. I hope this helps you write better code. If you found this video helpful, like and subscribe. Check out the description section for additional resources to speed up your software engineering journey.